On September 10th, heaven echoed with the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant," as Charlie Kirk was taken up to glory. But though his passing has made heaven richer, it's left the world poorer. We mourn Charlie's monstrous murder at the hands of a deranged, evil assassin. The Apostle Paul tells us to weep with those who weep, and we weep now with Charlie's widow and his 2 orphan children. The trauma they suffered is unthinkable and can't be put into words. We pray for God to comfort them and love them in the midst of this desolation. Charlie's passing leaves behind scars on the soul of our nation, but it also leaves a legacy of faith and courage that will inspire millions. He knew the risk and hostility arrayed against him, but he still faced them with a joyful, faithful, and valiant heart. Charlie was the very definition of a cheerful warrior. He didn't match hate for hate. He answered vitriol with civility, thoughtfulness, and an open invitation to debate. He was a champion of free speech and open discourse. That's why Charlie inspired young Americans and drew them into the political process as few other people could. He successfully encouraged millions of young Americans to take an active interest in American politics and make their voices heard, relying on persuasion and dialogue instead of political violence. Charlie's emphasis on peaceful discussion stands in stark contrast to the actions of the murderer who took his life. This atrocity was the fruit of a toxic philosophy that stands against everything Charlie believed. It is a philosophy that assumes that any opposing viewpoint, no matter how reasonable or politely expressed, is hate speech that must be met not with debate, but with bullets. It is a worldview that demonizes opponents as Nazis and fascists and extremists. It is a worldview that has already led to multiple acts of horror, including the 2 assassination attempts on President Donald Trump's life. It is motivated by cancerous rhetoric, and it must end. We have to be able to disagree peacefully and to promote freedom of speech. The alternative is an ever-worsening spiral of violence, in which every would-be butcher is inspired by the killers who came before them. That is not what our country is about, and it is not what Charlie Kirk championed in his life. Despite his massive influence, Charlie would not have wanted to be remembered primarily for his political impact and leadership. We know this because he said so himself. A few months before he was taken away from us, Charlie was asked how he would want to be remembered if he died. His response, and I quote, "I want to be remembered for the courage